Welcome to the Soul Infused Monday Show. Today's topic is how to create inner peace with the power of self-reflection. And I'm going to share a story, something that happened to me last week, and why self-reflection can be so super, super powerful, and how you can create inner peace when you go through some struggling situations or triggers. And for anyone that struggles maybe with any type of addictive behavior or food issues, this might also be very valuable. Last week, I had a day. Let me back up in case you don't know this about me. In the past, I struggled a lot with eating disorder, binging eating, overeating. It's one of my mechanisms that I grew up with in order to cope with situations that otherwise I wouldn't having been able to. I've done a lot of work around it. And over the years, especially in the last, decade, I've been on this path for over 2 decades now. I healed a lot of it. It's not a real issue anymore. I revisited last year some places, but sometimes it just happens. It's not the same. But I just wanted to give you this little background that now I'm highly alert and aware of that pattern, and I know when something is off, because there's a difference between having a desire or craving for something and you treat yourself or whatever you want to call it. And there's a huge difference between knowing that this is an addictive behavior that's coming from a place of wounding or that something is just off. And I know myself well enough. So last week, I at some point noticed out of the blue, I was having cravings. I wanted to eat. I had the urge to eat even though I was not hungry. So that's also a given. Like there was no hunger. I wasn't hungry. There was no need for me to crave anything in that sense. And at the first moment, and I don't have anything, no bad food in my house or anything, but I went with it for a little while, meaning I just ate more, nothing really bad, and I was observing it. And I was looking and wondering, like, why do I have cravings out of the blue? Like, what's happening? And why I'm sharing this is anyone has their own version of patterns, triggers, addiction, unhealthy behaviors or habits that you feel, oh, I don't want to do it. Maybe it's smoking, maybe it's something that's just out of proportion, not in balance, and it is an urge that you're not able to switch with pure willpower. Does it make sense? So at some point, because of the amount of work I've done with it and the high level of awareness that I have, I was asking myself the question, okay, why? What's the reason? What was the trigger? So that's a question that you might want to write down when you notice something happening and you are aware of it, to ask and to become curious instead of being judgmental about it. It could have been so easy to go, oh my God, I shouldn't eat, this is bad, or what's wrong with me? No, I let myself do it. And then I went into inner discovery, wondering, why? What happened? What was the trigger? With curiosity and like a researcher. So, and I tracked it back. I was like, when did the urge occur? And you can apply this to any of your own patterns and behaviors. Maybe food is not your issue, but anytime you feel suddenly you're angry, or suddenly you're yelling at your kids and you don't know why, or you have the urge to smoke a cigarette even though you haven't smoked in 10 years, whatever your version of this is. So I was tracking it back and I was tuning in. What did I do? How does this happen? What happened inside of me that urge got triggered? And then I tracked it back, and on that day, I had a group call with one of the programs that I'm in. So it's a group program. It's a that don't do inner work or anything. It's a totally different people. And there was a woman on that call, and she was complaining about something. So there was a very unpleasant energy, but I was not the group leader, so it was not up to me to do anything about it. But then they opened up the call, and they were asking, does anyone have a question? And I did have a question, and I also thought nobody was doing anything. And because the energy was so unpleasant, then I thought, well, let me get started to kind of shift the energy, ask my question. And even though I kind of knew the answer, sometimes you just want to hear, hey, it's totally okay, don't stress about it. I was getting caught up about something and getting too perfectionistic. Now, why this is relevant? Because of the dynamic before and me being in a vulnerable state about asking a question that I was insecure about. The woman made a joke. And the joke was so exaggerated that she wanted to basically show me, hey, you know, you don't have to be so perfectionistic or under pressure or something. And I didn't notice it in that right moment, but how she responded to my question created shame in me. And you are only aware of shame when you are highly alert and you've done enough work to find those layers. Because with any addictive behavior in particular, I have worked on shame and addiction for over 2 decades, and with hundreds of people and with myself. I have yet to see one case that shame is not a component. So shame is always a component. Now, I was not aware of that. I didn't even realize that that hit a part in me because it wasn't a big deal. And consciously, I knew exactly what she was doing. So I just, went with it, and it was fine. But deep down inside, because it was also a group setting, and the way I put myself out vulnerably and the response was not very supportive, a part in me got triggered, and it was shame. And as soon as I knew what it was, because it wasn't about the other person, it was about the question, it was about me discovering through self-reflection and awareness and tracking it back, what was the trigger? Because as soon as I got to the trigger and I held space for that feeling and I acknowledged it, and I took care of it, the cravings were gone. And I didn't overeat anymore that day. And by me taking the time to track it back, to become curious with acceptance and compassion, and then taking care of what it was, taking responsibility, taking care, that changed it. And once I did that, I felt such peace inside. I felt such inner peace and calmness and presence that it just reminded me again of the power of the work, of the power of having a high level of self-awareness, self-reflection, and being able to track things back. In the past, or when I didn't have that capacity, I would just have kept overeating to numb the shame, to numb that feeling of inadequacy, of vulnerability, without even knowing what I was doing. So why self-reflection is so powerful is really it gives you an incredible tool to put the flashlight to the original blueprint. Now, obviously, depending on how much work you've done, and you still get to do the work and to get to that point of awareness, but it gives you also an indicator of where there is maybe some more work to do. And shame is the worst. Shame wants to hide. It's one of the most uncomfortable things to work with. And that's why it's also so tricky, because often it's so hidden and so uncovered. However, when you don't get to the source, it's very difficult to get to that inner peace again, because inner peace, in my experience from an energetical perspective, because everything is energy for me. Like, I live in a world of energy, and it's about shifting the energy. And you don't just shift energy by thinking about it or, you know, changing the thoughts. That alone is not enough. It is very powerful, but it's not enough. So without having the root cause of that trigger, it stays hidden, as if you don't see the roadblock that is. It's as if an invisible force is holding you back, and you know it's holding you back, but you feel like there's nothing you can do about it. But you can do something about it. You get to look beyond the surface. You get to dare to look deeper and to track it back and to really feel what happened. And then that invisible force, that invisible trigger appears in front of you. And it's as a blind person becomes to see. And that's for me how energy also works. So next time you feel very triggered, or you suddenly feel something is off, or you suddenly out of the blue, you are noticing that you are wanting to go to a behavior that you know is not good for you and that you don't want to do. Take a moment to reflect. Take a moment to put the flashlight in. Even if you indulge in it a little bit, it's totally okay. Ask yourself the question, what happened? When did it start? What was the trigger? Does it make sense? Can you relate to it? And one other thing that makes such a difference, it empowers you and it liberates you, because you are as if you have the power to look deep inside and to connect with the truth. Because when I got triggered and I felt that shame in that moment that I wasn't aware in that very right moment, you lose touch with your true self, and you are in a pattern, in a time loop, and in a shame bubble. And it doesn't have to be so obvious. It wasn't such a big deal. It's very subtle sometimes, especially if you've done a lot of work already. This is even more crucial. So my invitation is to, next time anything happens, or if you just want to have more inner peace, right? Because we are so used to focus on the outside circumstances when we want to create more joy or peace or happiness or whatever you are desiring. And you can put a lot of energy and emphasis about changing your environment, but it's literally going inward and checking what is happening inside of me that I am off balance, that I am disconnected with my true self. Because when you're connected with the essence of your being, the core of who you truly are, and you're connected with your soul, that is peace. You are peace. You are energy, your love, your consciousness. That's who you are. And that moment of dropping back in and having that inner peace and centeredness is so delicious. It's so beautiful. That's why I'm so in love with inner work. So let me ask you, what's standing here for you? Do you have any questions? And I'm going to take a sip of water. And if I don't get any comments, I don't even know if I'm live or not, but I'm just try. And again, and I say this often, an invitation to look inside and do the inner work, because it creates such freedom, such joy, just peace, and to connect with who you are. And from my perspective of the work that I do, that is based on energy and its substance, it's tangible, and you get to rebuild and to construct the core channel, and you want to build the bridge meditation is one of the most powerful tools, energy-based meditation. I say this very often, to keep building and stabilize that inner spine, energetical spine that I call the core channel, and to build the bridge up so that you have that so solid in your life that imagine you wake up every day and you know who you are and you know what to do and you know how to reconnect and how to become more stable over time. It's like a muscle that you build. And as soon as you stop building the muscle, you will lose the muscle. You don't stop working out. You don't stop brushing your teeth. You don't stop any of the things that you need. You don't stop drinking water. You don't stop eating healthy just because you got to a certain point. It's the same with inner work. It's the same with the connection to your higher self, to the true connection of who you are. To build your energy, you got to keep working on it. You got to rebuilding it. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. It becomes like second nature, and it's a non-negotiable. So I hope this inspires you to really take that on, because it creates so much joy and so much freedom and so much peace. So look deep inside, connect with inner truth. Why am I disconnected with true self? Yes, that's really great takeaways. Look inside, connect with the truth, and the question, why am I disconnected with my true self? That's great questions. And often there's so much judgment when we fall into patterns or we do something that we know is not good for us. Who can relate? Like, who can relate to being easily self-judgmental when you drink if you know you want to drink, if you eat even though you didn't want to eat, if you just, you react a certain way and you know you don't want to react that way? Is it not so easy to the first thing to judge yourself? And what if you stop judging yourself and you become curious and you reflect with the awareness that you have, with the capacity of self-reflection and introspection, and you simply check what caused this? Like, I wonder what was the trigger? And you treat yourself like a beautiful, loving person that you are, that deserves love and attention and support. And you find out what was going on, and then you take care of it. You hold space for it. You love yourself through it. I'm going to share. And if you got a takeaway, like, take a moment, just take a nice deep breath and tune in. What is valuable here? Like, what's one takeaway? What's one takeaway that you're going to ease into in this week, that you're going to use into this week? One takeaway that you are going to reflect more on this week. What is that? Leave me a comment, leave me a message, leave me a review. Share, because by sharing, you also put more energy into it, and it will support your own process even more when you are aware of what's actually helpful. Another takeaway here, the sentence, why? What was the trigger? Be curious, not judgmental. Huge takeaway. Ooh, love it, Tine. What a great takeaway. Be curious, not judgmental. Great, great takeaway. Sometimes it's hard to trace the trigger back, but if I can figure it out, I can let it go. Yes, and absolute, and I want to talk into this. It is not easy to track it back, and you often or sometimes won't manage to track it back completely yourself. That's why it's good to have someone to work with you, or if you have a trusted person that you know can hold space, you can talk about it, share, so that you, by sharing and by trying to figure it out, you might have an insight that you didn't have before. And that's why the inner work is so important, because of course we are blind to ourselves. If it wouldn't be so easy, we would just change things all the time. But it wants to hide. But even just the intention alone to try to track it back instead of judging yourself will make a difference. It will already create more peace, because self-judgment does not create peace. Great, great takeaway. You said it many times, but so good to hear it again today. Oh, my pleasure. Yes, I get to get these reminders over and over because it continues. The journey continues, and you are a different person today than you were yesterday. Yes, to be reminded to love again through reflection. Great takeaway. Fantastic. Ida, you will catch the replay. Yes, catch the replay. And last but not least, I want to share that, and that's a repetition that I'm going to repeat over and over and over until the day I do this show. Meditation, energy-based meditation with the intention to build the energetical skeleton and bridge to connect to your core and to your soul is one of the most powerful tools to support your inner work. It's not substituting your inner work. It's not going to do it for you, but it's the most powerful tool. And I know that on some level you have meditated, maybe you are meditating, maybe you fell off the wagon, maybe you want to meditate more. I am actually working on a workshop. That's not a workshop, it's a program, a 30-day program to help you to meditate and to shift your energy. So keep tuned. I don't have any details yet, but I feel very called to do something so tangible over a 30-day period to really help you to shift and to build that muscle, to make that such a solid foundation into your life. So if you're interested, stay tuned. And also let me know if you want me to notify you when I have the details. It's going to happen soon. All right, that's it for today. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for your patience in the beginning with all the tech stuff. Come back next Monday for a new Soul Infused Monday show. Love yourself. Remove the judgment. Treat yourself as a beautiful friend with curiosity. What is happening? And how can you nurture yourself? And how can you heal those places so that the trigger is, first of all, not happening as quickly, not as often, and you get out of it sooner. Wishing you inner peace, love, and joy for this rest of the week. And I hopefully see you next Monday. Much love.